welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb.
And with me, Robbie.
And this week we bring you a classic Christmas horror comedy with Joe Dante's Gremlins.
Yes.
Sorry, Steven Spielberg presents Joe Dante's Gremlins.
I had a bit of a deja vu moment because I was like, I put the film on and I was thinking, oh, I didn't realise Steven Spielberg did Gremlins. And then I was like, no, I said that last time. And I was like, no, it's Joe Dante. And it got me thinking, when we have spoken about this film on the podcast, and I believe it was episode 9, Favourite Festive Frighteners. Yes. I'm sure because I
definitely would have put Gremlins down as one of mine. Gremlins is a childhood. I love it. I think Gremlins is probably one of the reasons I love horror films so much. I think it was like the one that I just loved as a kid. I used to have a Gizmo toy.
Yeah.
I asked my mum one year if I think I might have asked her for a Furby and she gave me a Gizmo. So there's mixed emotions of I love Gizmo but also I wanted a goddamn Furby.
I mean they're interchangeable.
I think there may have been a Furby that was actually a Gizmo style looking one, and that may have been the one I wanted. It probably cost about 80 quid. It was probably far too expensive for my mum, but being a child I was like, what the fuck is this?
What is this? Why didn't you give
me this? Is a stuffed toy. I like Gizmo. I will keep this, but where's my Furby?
I just remember there was a weird kid at my school and he loved Furbies. So Furbies have always been the weird person toy for me. Yeah. So I was never interested in them. I was probably asking for a Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Stone Cold figure. Figure. I was watching real things like WWF.
It was probably, I don't know. It was one of those crazes, wasn't it? Like everyone had a Furby at one point. At that point, but I don't know if I actually ever got a Furby.
No, I'm
not sure what I did. I did get given a few years after that, I got given a Yoda that was kind of Furby-like because it talked to you and gave commands and stuff like that. You basically
gave commands? It told you what to do.
It was actually just a plush Yoda that in my head, it was telling me to burn down the house.
Burn the house.
So it literally used to make like the Yoda like, oh, and then you'd hear it, and then it would tell you like, and you basically had a little like lightsaber that you'd swish, and it would tell you how to like train to be a
Kill your neighbour's dog.
It got extremely annoying, extremely fast, and to the point where I literally one day I went fuck you and lobbed it. I lobbed it into my attic, which was the worst mistake I ever made. Because then for about 2 years, all we heard every once in a while, you're walking around the house and all you heard was, oh! You read? It was like, where the fuck is that coming from? In the middle of the night, my mum said she would get woken up by hearing Yoda talking. And then when we finally went up to the attic, we couldn't find him.
He's gone rogue.
Until then, I think we moved out, and finally we found this Yoda like hidden, where he'd fully been buried underneath all of like the. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's Yoda.
That's so good. Master Yoda has gone into hiding.
Yeah, just constantly, all you'd hear is just Yoda around the house. Just where is he?
Well, I mean, to be fair, last week we spoke about Black Christmas. Yeah, and that could be some kind of remake. You know? It's just Yoda in the attic.
It's just Yoda in the attic instead.
People freaking out.
There's no Billy or no Mona. It is Yoda.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good chance to get the cheap plug in nice and early. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a lovely review. It's Christmas. It's the time of giving. What more could you do than give us a lovely hit of that subscribe button and review? We did that on the seat of my ass.
Yeah, they're nice over
it. It is a classic.
I think it's extremely good as a introduction to horror.
I think it is.
I did say they're very controversial that my little 2-year-old actually watched not all of it, but about half of it with me yesterday.
You just showed him the violence.
I only showed her the violent half, not the cute half. She absolutely, as any child would, loved Gizmo, and was very much like, oh, Gizmo, there she is. But she went to bed before it got fully into but she did get to see some of the creepy as they start to turn into the actual Gremlins, as not the Mogwai cuter versions, but what we call the Gremlins. We're never actually specifically given an exact name. Like Gremlins is just a general like American term for the things that go wrong in your house in the night. It's an old like.
It's actually a British Royal Air Force term.
Yeah,
the Gremlins in your machine.
Yeah.
If your thing's fucking up.
Because there was I think it's Twilight Zone back in the 60s. So did an episode where it had like the Gremlin, which is like where it's on a plane and the like. So anytime something goes wrong, then it came that kind of myth or legend of like basically if anything goes wrong around your house, it's the Gremlins.
It's the Gremlins.
So we refer to them kind of as the Gremlins, apart from like the main, like Spike kind of thing. Most of them are not really like established. So we always refer to Gizmo as the Mogwai, and then the Gremlin is the eviler version of the kind of one.
I mean, the Gremlins are cooler than the Mogwai. You know, I do like the film. I don't want to sound like I don't like it, but I'm very happy we are covering it, so I don't have to watch it again because it's such a classic film that I think I've watched it so much that like having to watch it again, I was kind of like, I know this, you know, like I could.
Well, I knew this film. I could have done it without watching it, but I still thoroughly enjoy it. I was enjoying myself. I was like, I haven't watched it in a few years now. I don't
know when I last.
It used to be a seasonal thing, and then I was like, I've overdone it now. So
that's
came back.
That's the thing. I got to a point where I think I just overdid it, and maybe because I don't have children yet. I don't have the magic of being like, oh, they're watching it for the first time. Instead, I'm more like...
Maybe, I mean, like, she won't remember it by this. I'll show it again in a few years.
But then you get to watch it twice and discover it.
But I just think, I mean, it's just, I just like the balance of this film. I think it has, it treats it in an interesting way where you've got the humorous, dark comedy of, like, the actual Gremlins themselves. I think a lot of the humour then comes from them. You've got a few of these kind of little wisecracking, like humorous moments with like the dad and other characters, but then you've also got quite like dramatic kind of story, like where the characters are still treated like actual human beings when they could have been really goofy. Some of the characters are still a bit goofy, yes.
I think most of the characters are pretty goofy.
I mean, there's Billy's characters and stuff like that. He's pretty straightforward. You know, the main characters, Billy,
Judge Reinhold.
You know, Judge Reinhold. Billy and Kate are pretty much straightforward.
Kate isn't. Kate's a fucking nutter.
Well, she is.
Kate is a fucking
nutter. She's got a dark, you know, like
comes out of nowhere.
There is that one scene that is always a controversial scene, controversial conversation. That
it's so fun.
We will get to that scene because it's interesting, and it's also probably the darkest story.
Darkest part.
The darkest Christmas scene that comes in this kind of, you know, somewhat but
fun, whimsical thing.
I like somewhat that, like, although the characters are like played like that, I still do think that they are fairly kind of, you know, some of them, like some of the really villainous ones are kind of overplayed, but you still have somewhat of an emotional core, like a grounding to it that brings it. Whereas if all of them had been pushed over that level, I'm not sure it would work as well as I think it does in this film.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's the. I don't know whether that's like who you would particularly credit for that. So obviously written by Chris Columbus, who was known to fuck when it came to writing films. Directed by Joe Dante, who we spoke about, and he's got a good kind of back catalogue. And then obviously, you know, the big man himself, Steven Spielberg, and it has that kind of like real intimate small town. A lot of the characters, it feels very lived in world that he can make, and it's the thing I don't, and that's why I'm always like, oh, it's a Steven Spielberg kind of film. Yeah, it feels very Spielberg. It's quite grand in its scope in terms of like shots, and you see a lot of the town.
It's inspired by the film that's actually shown in the film, which is It's a Wonderful Life. So Frank Capra, the director, it's that small town kind of that they're trying to recreate, but then it's like, what happens if you have monsters?
Well, the Gremlins there.
Yeah, what happens
if you have monsters?
A Gremlin instead. This nice, sweet little like small town where they never have anything go on. But also, I guess because the small town is also related to the whole idea of like, if this did happen in some of these towns, like, would anyone actually like believe what's going on here? Would anyone really be able to work out or know what's happened here? Because they'll just be like, well, nothing ever happens in these places, does it?
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
I love the opening because there's something that like when we get the struggling inventor Randall Peltzer, which is such an 80s kind of name, and he's visited Chinatown because it's like coming up to Christmas, he needs to get his child something, so obviously he's got to go to Chinatown. And I love the way that Chinatown.
Well, he's still on the cell though.
He is still on the cell. He's trying to sell some old Chinese man this dog shit shaving thing, and I'm like, what?
The morning buddy, I think, or
the morning buddy.
Yeah,
and it's like, I don't know if
or
it's
the travel buddy.
One of the two. I don't know if it's the product or the fact that this is like an old Chinese shopkeeper who sells this mystical stuff, and you're like, why don't you stock these?
Yeah.
This like plastic tat. But I love the idea that he's just like, oh, I'm gonna sell this old opium smoking man thing. Why don't I buy my child an animal? It's like if you brought your kid like a snake, you'd be like, it's an animal from a back alley shop.
I think you're underestimating the cuteness of Gizmo.
Maybe.
I think that's the selling point. That's pretty much the selling point of this film, is the fact that Gizmo is incredibly cute. So, and I think that's what you have to get on board with. If you're not inclined by the cuteness of things, that may rate it down a little bit for you if you can't be there to be like, damn, that little thing's cute. That's a big selling point of this film. Is basically Gizmo's cute, so watch the film.
Watch the film. Yeah, we want to sell toys.
The dad wants to buy him because look at that cute little singing thing in the box that's like chattering away to me. It's like, I've never seen anything like it before. Let's buy this. Yeah, it's a weird thing to walk into a shop like that and be like, I'm going to buy this animal.
I'm going to buy an animal.
I'm going to buy an animal
from a back alley shop in Chinatown for my child.
Weird thing, when the dudes just told me that there's a lot of like things that you need to be aware of, like you're not safe to buy this.
Yeah,
you have to be very careful.
He's just giving me the hard sell.
But he's just giving me that hard sell. I'll buy it off of this 9-year-old boy.
Oh yeah, I'll buy it off his 9-year-old son. Son or grandson, maybe.
I think grandson.
I think he might be fucking.
That's too dark for
Gremlins.
Remember, this is PG-13. Actually, it's not. It was PG.
It's PG.
This helped make the creation of PG-13.
There we go. So there's only one anal sex scene. That's
a gremlin on the scientist in the lab. You don't get to see that.
We don't get to see it. It's just implied insertion. So we find out the 3 kind of cardinal rules is, don't expose the creature to light. You can't see the light, especially sunlight. That'll cook it. Don't let it come in contact with water, and then never feed it after midnight.
Yeah.
I think those are such. It's so fun. It sets the stakes of like.
Yeah.
Well, like
it's also almost impossible rules to follow.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's like, what level of what are we talking about? Level, like, it's like people will often mention, it's like, what levels of water? Rain?
Rain. Snow.
Water? A bath?
Snow?
Can we ever clean him?
Does
the moisture on his tongue count? You know what I mean? Like all those kind of
spit on it.
And what about light? So if I turn on a bathroom light, is it going to kill him?
It's going to die.
You know what I mean? Like, and what time zone for eating after midnight? Because there's millions around the world.
We're moving.
Oh shit! What do you mean it was like? Oh, it was on Chinatown, by the way.
Yeah,
well, that's like a day and a half ago. It's goddamn midnight. Damn it!
And you'd be like, "What are you selling me? Like,
what is this?"
I opened this box and you've just sold me dust.
To be fair, the main thing is that probably half the time he would have just walked away and I don't care. I don't care about those rules. If I was told those 3 rules in the thing, I'd be getting home and be like, shit, what was it?
I'd be like, the kid's got to play.
Kid, can you write those? I didn't ask him to write them down.
He's got to play with it for a month.
Only feed them after midnight.
Feed them after midnight.
Put them in direct sunlight. Give them a bath daily. Yeah, that was it, right? Yeah, let's do that.
Do the classic, if you don't like it. When the kid finishes playing with it, just put it in the sack. put it in the canal. There you go. That's what you do to the dog you don't want anymore. Don't do that. A dog is for life, not for Christmas.
It is indeed. Do not get rid of your dogs.
Don't get rid of your dogs or any animals, unless it's Gremlins.
Yes.
So then we kind of go back, and this is where my first kind of thing. This is when the waylay that I mentioned in our Black Christmas episode. If you haven't, go and check it out. Is that the dad is only frequently in this, very infrequently. So the dad comes home and he brings, we get to see everybody in the hometown. So you've got Billy, who's Zach Gilligan, is it?
Yeah, Zach Gilligan.
Mr. Zach Gilligan. You get the kind of the old crow, Mrs. Deagle, whatever her name is.
The ultimate bitch.
The ultimate bitch. You get the, you get the bank owner. You get Judge Reinhold.
Who appears and then just disappears. Who seemed like a perfect target to be killed by the Gremlins and then just disappears completely.
Yeah, and he just turns up and he's like...
I think he was a forgotten part of when they changed the script. I think he disappeared, and I think they purely kept him on as an early antagonist, but then decided that he probably doesn't actually live in the town in the evening, so he's probably off somewhere else.
Well, he mentions
about his flat, so
yeah, he mentions about his flat.
It doesn't look like a place that has a lot of flats.
No, he's tried a pound, and then he says to that woman, like, "You want to come back to my house? I've got cable." And it's the kind of thing of like, imagine going into a bar and being like, "Would you like to come back? I have Sky TV." That would be enough to secure sex.
I mean, I guess nowadays, probably, I guess for some people it probably is. You want to come and Netflix and chill, baby.
Chill. That's it. Cable.
Yeah. Come back and watch Netflix. You know what that means now. That's like asking to come back for coffee or something like that. It's like,
it's old school. We're pounding.
We're pounding. But yeah, it is weird to be like, I've got to point all the things to point out in your house. Is like, Sky TV.
Sky TV. Inclusive of all packages.
How big it was to have game. But that just implies the wrong thing completely. Because it's like, basically, I want you to come back to my house. We're going to watch TV. It's not even like a satellite. We're just going to watch. I'm going to show you every goddamn channel. There's 500 channels.
Then you will watch every
one. You will watch every one.
We watch 5 minutes of every one.
We've got... So yeah, we do be like the people as we go around. So we've got Phoebe Cates, who plays as Kate. We've got obviously the mum at home. We've got the fucking great dog.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't actually know the dog's name.
I can't.
The dog's name is Mushroom. The actor, as in the dog.
The dog.
But I don't remember what the dog.
You can't remember the role it plays. It doesn't have. I'm trying to see if it has a Wikipedia.
I remember looking on the thing last night and seeing. And seeing Mushroom as the name, and now for some reason I literally can't remember what the dog's name is. I just remember Mushroom.
You just remember the name of the actor.
I remember the actor. The
Mushroom,
the Academy
as
Award-winning actor.
Mushroom
as Barney. Barney, there you go. Barney.
And then Kenny. Yeah, no, that's a human. I thought that was a dog there. I thought it was like Kenny Davis is Dory. That's a weird name for a dog. It's just a human who doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
I mean, so it's all very like small town setting. There's lots of little details that I do. I love the stuff like we were talking about the dad in the inventor. I love the stuff about all of his adventures, basically, like working for like a week, and then they just fucking like when he puts the eggs in the thing and it just fucking bashes them, or it goes later he has the oranges that he puts inside and it literally just obliterates the kitchen.
And the phone just not working.
Yeah, like all those little things that just like constantly, I think, add a little bit of that like humour in the background of like another thing and how's it going to go wrong this time.
Yeah.
But it also gives you a nice like kind of like that they're like a small supporting family. You get the idea that the town is generally, and again this relates to that whole It's a Wonderful Life thing of like the town is under the control almost of the bank.
Yeah.
That everyone is somewhat seems to be in a kind of like stingy or struggling kind of mood at the same time, where the bank is basically asking for loads of money, and it's a small town, so there's not enough jobs, and whatever.
Yeah,
you get that.
You're
getting that kind of feeling that even like Billy and his family, he works at the bank, but his family is still somewhat struggling because Billy's the implication that Dad is like not pulling his weight, kind of thing, because he makes
sells shit.
He makes all of these adventures that don't work. Yeah. He's trying to do it. Fair play to the man for trying, but it's not working, and but he's not giving up on it.
But then all you need maybe is one really class invention, just to take off.
I mean, he's making things that are like okay, not some of them make sense, but it's just like
him.
It's just sadly they're not working. An orange juicer, I guess, at the time is something, but I'm sure they already had that.
Yeah.
So an egg cracker, I mean, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
We need that. But yeah, lots of things. To be fair, he does have one control that controls all the lights around the house. That one ahead of his time.
That was pretty ahead of his time, yeah.
One remote, and it was controlling all of the different electronics. I was like, that's actually, and that was working.
I was like, why are you not pushing
Why is that one not made up?
Why are you
like, I just made that one for me.
I just made that for me.
It's like the dude that's just like, I made an iPhone, but it's just for me.
It's just for me.
What I'm going to sell you is a box that you press it and it had a light inside. That's my one to go after.
That's the one.
But this mobile phone, that's just for me. No one wants that.
Nobody cares about that. Yeah, it's just absolutely nice.
So yeah, you do get a nice little kind of go around of the town. You get to meet Corey Feldman's character, the little tree boy.
And the little tree boy. And I kind of couldn't remember whether this was before Feldman Mania or after, you know, because he does have a small part. And I think this is maybe just before.
I think this is like on the cusp.
On the cusp.
You know, all those bits that come in for him, like, you know,
Like Stand By
we had
Me.
and Goonies and all that kind of.
Yeah, I think that's after.
All around this time where we've got like quite a lot of. Yeah, I don't know.
Comeback
if it was. I don't know if it was Goonies was before or after. I can't.
I think
remember
Goonies
the date
was
for that.
after, I believe. I mean, it's
because that was again, but he was very much because a lot of them got start. His like noticing getting started was all related to Steven Spielberg because he, you know, that was another Steven Spielberg present. Steven Spielberg did so many of these where people are like,
this was the
like
same
Back
year,
to the Future and stuff like that, where he's like Spielberg directed that. It's like no, he didn't, but he presented it. He was an executive. He very quickly in Hollywood established himself as being like, you know, all of these. And to be fair, this is his mark though is also why a lot of these like Back to the Future, Goonies and things like that, if you notice, like all of the stuff, nostalgia stuff that they've remade, done like that, a lot of the Spielberg Presents ones have never been done because he has a firmer hand on those and is like,
he just goes, no,
you're not doing it unless we're not doing it for no reason, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you ain't bringing E.T. back just to have like party on the road, you know, so you can just have worldwide rave for E.T. or whatever he'd come back to do. E.T. phone home. E.T. comes home.
Yeah, it's an absolute tap.
So I kind of like the fact that there's somewhat of a, you know, Gremlins seems so, although at the same time, Gremlins seems so like could so easily be made into a nice like another one, remade or a nice, as they're very much in the nostalgia in the last 10 years, you know, having a like almost like a final Gremlins or whatever, you know what I mean, or something like that could be very much like, I feel like that would work and a lot of people would want it.
I feel like you need to do a remake.
A remake could also work as well.
Like so they bring Zach Gilligan, and then like Gizmo is like 40 years old and he's like shitting himself and he's like grey and he's like confused.
I mean, yes, we have to establish that Gizmo has a longer life.
Yeah, they have to fucking take him to the vets and they're like, that's sad. And then you're just like watching Gizmo get put down and that's the end of it. It's like a 5-minute YouTube short, you know. Like I think there's scope for it, but I don't know if it needs the requel. You know?
I don't know if it does, but that's what a lot of people want from what I've seen online. I was just on the whole Corey Feldman because I just wanted to know the timeline. He did Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And the same year he did Gremlins. Then he did the other Friday the 13th, A New Beginning part, obviously. And then Goonies, Stand By Me, Lost Boys, Burbs, all those things then came in like big holler after all of that.
Then we'll move on.
Well, what's interesting, actually, like talking about the whole recall, like, is the fact that some people have talked about it being remade and somewhat establishing the darker original script for this film. So the film was not always this like. So Christopher Columbus wrote it, obviously, and he's written a lot of films, but he's also directed a lot of classic films. You know, Home Alone. The first 2 Harry Potters is Chris Columbus. You know, so he's had a huge mark. But this was actually his like getting into like his proper like getting in one was Gremlins. But his original script for this film is way darker. So Gizmo is not the cute and cuddly. Gizmo is basically Stripe. So Gizmo was established as the creature to start with, but then is the leader of all of them. We still have the Gremlins attacking, but there's way more death and violence. Barney the dog is the first. They don't eat the chicken at midnight; they eat Barney the dog at midnight. So Barney was like completely obliterated. Other people, and I think Judge Roundhard's character as well is one of them that are oft in the city. A lot of people are like eaten, including Corey Feldman's character is eaten in the film. So the kid dies as well. So some of the establishing things are still there, but a lot of those kind of main parts have like disappeared, and the Gremlins are pretty much. It is much more of just a standard creature feature. These are the monsters, and now we've got to stop them. Kind of thing. You know, Billy's still in there. Kate doesn't have so much of the background, but one thing they did establish is that it's generally darker. The mum, for instance, is not this badass that she is in this film.
Fucking bodies up.
Yeah, she's awesome. We'll get to that kind of scene, but she's awesome. But in this one, she's got like a Valium addiction, and she's like, and I think she's oft. And Billy's the one that kind of does that whole like in the house scene instead. And a lot of the other characters are much more kind of thinly drawn characters. It just was not this like. This one, I think a lot of what makes it work is the fact that the characters do still have somewhat of a backstory, and you do slightly get to know different characters a little bit enough that you feel it like the original script apparently was much more Christopher Columbus. It was inspired by that he had like mice and rats running around his house in his cheap New York apartment. He used to go to bed at night apparently, and like rats would like run past his hands.
They are horrid little cunts though.
Yeah, so like he got inspired by this kind of these creatures in the night kind of thing, which are hanging around, and not so much the actual like old urban legend of the gremlin kind of thing. So yeah, it had all of these like way darker bits. You know, it still had bits like the movie theater and stuff like that in there, but it didn't have all of these like establishes. It was much more like graphic of like gremlins actually attacking and killing. And the ending, to be fair, was not nearly as good. I think the ending is something like they basically have destroyed the town, and then Billy and what was called Tracy in that original one basically like tried to escape from the town. Oh yeah, Judge Rondon's character did have a bigger part in the original because he was a character called he was a Greg, but he was like the boyfriend. So he was like getting, you know, but he gets like off towards the end of the film kind of thing. He's like the jockey boyfriend character. But their ending is basically like they escape the town, and then they manage to get away from them, and they get into like a greenhouse area that's on the outside of town, and basically the gremlins just all get killed because the sun comes out, and that's the end of the film. It's and there was a setup for a sequel because one of them had been locked in a toolbox earlier in the film, and basically like some like workman picks up the toolbox at the end and it's like moving and shaking like crazy, and he throws it into the sea because he's like, what the fuck is this? And then basically that implies you see bubbling, and that's like there's more. They're coming back again.
That does actually sound like quite an interesting film.
It sounds interesting to take the darker approach. The only thing is, I guess, when you've got other films that, like, you know, a lot of these other creature features that were made off the back of Gremlins and stuff just didn't work because they did embrace a lot more of the darkness.
Yeah.
And didn't feel so, like,
well, which ones did you
fun.
have? Critters?
Like Critters,
Ghoulies
and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. A lot of them are just forgotten to time because they just didn't really work as well. Some of them still had, like, the tongue-in-cheekness.
Yeah.
But they took it as too adult with the tongue-in-cheekness and... or they did go graphic and they just didn't quite work. So I think this is the thing that's underestimated with Gremlins, is that the heart at the centre of it is quite often what makes the original one work, I think, so well. And the humour is tongue-in-cheek from the Gremlins, that they are like, it's quite fun watching the Gremlins, especially when in the, you know, the towards the second to the final third act we properly like kick off with the mayhem. Is when the film really does pick up. There's a lot of establishment before that to set up the lore and the world of like what they are in the town, but I do think that is for the better. I understand that like some people may think it takes the time to get into there, but I do think it makes it stronger that we know, you know, the next door neighbours, we know the people that live, we know the people at the bank, we know who Mrs. Deagle is.
It gives you that time, doesn't it?
We know even about the police officers. You know, we get that early scene with him like trying to get a Christmas tree for free, and everyone's like, I pay for mine, and you know. And also, one thing I do remember saying on that Festive one is this has the most hitting Christmas. It goes from that opening scene to the whole, like, Christmas, you know, like the whole town kind of thing.
Goes into it.
You know, and obviously it's the Back to the Future town, so.
Yeah. I actually just did a little quick research into Ghoulies. And Ghoulies was in production at the same time as Gremlins. However, they ran out, and Warner Bros. Tried to sue Ghoulies to stop it from being... like made.
Yeah.
But then they were unsuccessful. However, Ghoulies ran out of money and had to pause, which allowed Gremlins to come out first.
Yeah.
So there's an alternate timeline where Ghoulies came out first, and that was the influential one. And we're like, Ghoulies is awesome. Gremlins is shit, you know?
Or there's the other timeline where Ghoulies came out with shit, then everyone was like, well, Gremlins is going to be shit too, so no one's going to go.
See that at all.
So, because Gremlins became like the third biggest film of 1984. Like, it was the first, whereas Ghoulies may have completely destroyed any chance of everyone ever watching Gremlins.
Maybe. However, we will never know.
We will never know.
We're stuck in this timeline.
I've never seen Ghoulies, so I can't say it's bad, but I also know that it does not seem to have a lasting legacy.
No. Although maybe we have to cover it in the new year.
Yes,
just to see.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Of what it is. So, obviously, this is a film. This is a classic film. If you've never seen Gremlins, it's just like one of those. Like, I feel like, and it is one it's the horror film that's almost on the edge of being almost like a family horror film.
Yeah.
Like where people will watch it together and sometimes forget how dark it. It's one of those ones. It's like this really weird comparison to be like there are some Christmas films where it has like a thing, and parents maybe watch that. Oh, it's Gremlins. Gizmo's cute. Well, we'll watch it. Then they'll be like, holy shit, this is getting dark. It's kind of like when the other day when I heard people saying about Love Actually.
Yes.
And people say, and I was like, well, that's a nice. I was like to shut. I was like people say like they've never seen it. I was like, surely they would have watched that with their families. And then I sat down and watched Love Actually with Charlotte and was like, I forgot how much nudity and sex and how much actually dark kind of little bits there are in between this happy, like, because the ending of the film makes everything so happy and glorious.
Of course, that's what people remember.
They always remember those parts, and then I was like, I forgot how much nudity. I was like, I'm not going to sit down and watch this with my family and be like, yeah, they're pretending to shag,
well,
or they're fucking, or like, or there's Alan Rickman's being a real dick in this film.
Alan Rickman's a prick. Well, it was like last weekend. My brother came round and we were talking about Christmas films because we were like, oh, it's coming to it, and he was like, yeah, and they were saying, what's your favourite Christmas film? And he was like, oh, it's the one in black and white, A Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, oh, I haven't seen that one. What's it about? And I was like, it's about a man who wants to kill himself. It's like, there's something. It is great. It's a great film and it ends happily. But it's a dark film at the same time.
It's a long trail to get to that trail of that film. It's a very good film, but you've got to be willing to like fit. It's a film that's actually good to watch when you're sad because it kind of brings you through the whole emotions to get to that kind of thing. It's weird to say watch the film about a guy who wants to kill himself if you are feeling sad.
If you're feeling
sad,
but
it actually I think it takes you through. It
gets you there.
But anyway, we're not talking about It's a Wonderful Life.
Suicidal men in the 50s.
It is within that kind of the darker and depressing scenes. To be fair, that also kind of is why there is oddly dark, depressing scenes because it's still taking that vision of basically making a horror version of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
What if there was creatures around there? Well, so we've established the creatures. You've got lots of cute, scenes. Not to have to delve into all of the parts because everyone's seen this film, but Gizmo's cute as hell. He's singing, cute. He's going along, and then Corey Feldman, goddamn thing, he spoils the fun by knocking water all over Gizmo, which then pop, and we get a bunch of little bastards.
And I don't. They are still
cute and furry, but they're little dicks.
But why are they such pricks in Gizmoism?
I don't know. It's not really established. I've thought many times about like, is there like as if like. Do they all get born this way, or are ones born and then the ones that come off of them are almost like inferior little like versions of them? I don't know. Or is it just because Spike is such an evil little shit that he just leads the rest of them into a group? He gets them into the bad little thing. Because you get those scenes like where Spike like literally fucking spits at Gizmo, who's just trying to enjoy himself with his little horn.
And he's just trying to play with his little horn, and Spike spits on it. It's a perfectly fine film. I would have just been like, all right, that's enough. If you play out,
Gizmo, you're great. The rest of you guys, I'm putting you in that bag and throwing you in the rim. That would have gone badly.
That's a good idea.
That would have been terrible.
It would have, but I'm not thinking about the consequences of my actions. Why should I? Why should anyone?
Yeah.
Snap the nets, and then you're done. And it's.
I get many establishing things that are happening with these.
I love that they lynched the dog.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
as I said, originally that was Eat the Dog, so it's a little less dark. But
at first I was like, oh fucking hell, they hung it. And then I was like, that's a massive overreaction from the woman at the bank. You wouldn't be, because it's established that she doesn't like the dog. Oh, but she just
that real dark goes from like I'll put him in my tumble dryer and put him on high heat.
And then you're like, all right, and then
dark.
And then you just lynch the dog, on your fucking porch. But then, no, he's fine. They just tied him up. So it was just a simple lamp.
They're like, who the fuck did this? Like, what's going on? Was it these little creatures? What's going on here? You're getting all these things, and you've got, well, to be fair, one scene that did suddenly pop out to me that I'd never looked at the same one before is, so we have Billy, this comic book writing on the side while he works at the bank, we get this. He's a very nice lad. He's a lovely, all right. He's doing his best to support his family. It still doesn't make it weird that the guy that lives up in his parents' attic has a boy of about 10 who comes in, and the only thing, which is it's all right. This is quite a Spielberg-y kind of a that there can be those kind of friends, and he is younger than I think it is. He is like this is like his first proper job, and he's still like things. So it's almost as if he would have been younger, I guess, whatever, and they're close like friends or family friends or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still not weird that the first thing that the man does when the boy walks into his attic is takes his top off.
Yeah,
it's the first thing he does. He walks up the stairs, Corey walks in, and he starts changing.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I mean, this is still weird.
Yeah, it's a bit of foreshadowing.
It's a weird establishment that you can be. It's all right, guys. You can be friends with young boys, and you can get changed in front of them.
You can get changed for it. And knowing what happened to Corey, it's kind of a bit like
knowing the things that apparently happened, it's a bit like no. Zach Galifianakis. Zach Gilligan.
Yeah,
that was it. But again, that is not looking at it from a Spielberg frame of mind. Remember, in a Spielberg frame of mind,
everything's good.
Families are happy. It's all very nice. That's and bad things happen around them. But family is always good.
Family's always
at
good.
The heart of it, most people are always good. So you've got to keep that very Christmassy state of mind, which we are not good people for doing because we're not good people.
We are being very naughty. And then you get the scene where they swindle him, where they're like, "Oh, I'm really hungry, mate.
We're hungry.
We're hungry. Can we have some
fried chicken, mate?"
And then he looks at the clock and it's like, 20 to 12. All right, you can have some chicken.
Gizmo's like, nah, mate.
Yeah.
They're little dicks.
Well, Gizmo can speak.
Yeah,
so why isn't he like?
I mean, he's not like fluently speaking.
No, but
he's like basically, mate. They've just pulled that out of the thing. So he because he says like Billy and bright light and
he can at least go.
He said,
"Bye,
Billy.
Wrong time.
Yeah, wrong time,
mate."
I go with the thing that I don't think Gizmo actually realizes because they were
Probably
on the
not.
floor. He doesn't realize what they're doing. He's just good enough to be like, nah, I don't actually want food. They want food because they want to change into creatures.
Yeah, they want to.
I have had my meal. I am perfectly full.
I've had my meal,
and I am enjoying reading comic books. To be fair, there's also the status of like. Gizmo is treated like the king on the bed, and they are treated like you guys in your little box. Get down there.
They are kind of scum.
They are little shits.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if that was the way that you raise them, there may be a reason why these ones are acting more like little shits, whereas you're like carrying Gizmo around everywhere, whereas they're like, get in that fucking box.
Get in that box. Get in that box.
And yeah. Actually, I said about the dog before, but the dog's reactions, like the dog is like a fucking class actor in this film. His reaction to like when Gizmo first pops out the box to the thing, like he is properly reacted. Obviously, they're like puppets and animatronics and stuff like that.
Yeah, they are great animatronics.
Yeah, they are really like cool and well done. So you can tell why he does. But I just think the dog is fucking class in this film. Like every time, like he actually he makes you believe them almost more because he's like fully reacting to it. So well done, little mushroom.
Well done, mushroom. Rip mushroom.
Rip mushroom. I mean, it's definitely Rip mushroom. There's no way. It's 40 years ago. Well, it is the 40th anniversary this year. It's been 40 years.
We'll find out.
If you're still alive, mushroom, you're amazing.
If you're still alive, give us a sign.
How did you do that?
Yeah, give us a sign.
Sadly, he is long gone.
He's gone. The hatching scene's awesome. I'm just kind of trying to think of just breezing through it.
Yeah. I mean, the hatching scene. So we've established we've also got like the science teacher at school, which I think is a really cool. We get him kind of in the class, and Billy goes to talk to him about like what are these guys, and he does little tests. He gets one of the gremlins and gives him a little needle to prick him, and he doesn't like it.
Takes his blood.
Like, oh no, and so you've got that little setup with Billy in the town. We've got all these things. We've also established that Phoebe Cates' Kate does not like Christmas, but we don't know why yet. No. And that will come up.
Yeah, that's gonna come up.
But let's start with the pupil stage, the changing of the gremlins. So to get into the real fun of it, the gremlin scene when they change. I mean, it's really gross. You've got the steam and the eggs are like bubbling, and it's all quite slimy and gross. And you've got you also see in the school where it's starting to expand and it grows into the cage.
Yeah.
So when he comes to start like cutting it out of it, you're like, oh, like, because we get his death just before we get the mum's scene.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it's in there, it's broken through, and he can hear, and he's hearing noises around him, and it's like, cutting it out before.
They keep the reveal of the gremlins really well done. You see, he is cutting that, and then you do, like, when they hatch in the bedroom, you just see, like, the kind of shadows move, and it's only like a split second.
Yeah.
And it's not until the mum fucking bodies them that you actually see them. But the scene
in the lab, because you get like the whole like he scratches his hand, he runs around, you hear scuttling, you hear things like you hear like the yum when he's like trying to. He has an apple, he's like, fuck this apple.
I don't want an apple,
but I'll have this glass container. That's delicious.
It's delicious. Yum.
And he's trying to get him with a Snickers bar. He's like, come on, little lad, have a Snickers. They're delicious. He tries to get to him. He goes under the table. I mean, he's already kind of gone at him, but he's still like, yeah, it's all right. You're just scared, little.
You're just a scared little.
So he goes under there, and then he puts his hand under, and you just get that scream as he's like fucking tearing into his hand or something.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like when Billy starts to realise that like something weird's going on. When he fully realises that when he walks in and there he's dead on the ground with the needle stuck back in.
Stuck in his ass.
Showing they're vicious and vengeful little bastards.
Vicious, vengeful, with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek.
But I always like this guy. I think the setup for this kill is really like fun.
Yeah, this guy.
Like playing with him, like the doors are going, and then you've also got Billy who then like sees him and like chases after him, like escapes and like sees him like he's like in the cupboard and stuff like that popping out. You know, all these little like, oh, this is quite cool because he's got Gizmo with him.
Yeah.
You know, when he like busts out and he's like having to bandage himself up and you're like, what the fuck? But this scene's really awesome, but fucking Mum.
Oh, Mum's
Mum is the like Mum, to again use an Americanism, is the MVP of this film.
Yeah.
She fucking bashes the shit out of
And it's the best scene in the film.
It is. Like you've got the music as she goes up and she's like, what the hell's going on? And then you've got do you hear what I hear? And it's like, what the fuck is happening? And then just as she makes her way around and she just starts seeing things, and then just the kitchen, just with all these creatures like hanging out.
Scranning.
The fuck. And it's just the way she goes straight into knife out, like, and just goes into action. She doesn't even take the time to be too like, oh no. She's like, blend you little fucker.
Yeah.
Like, blend that shit up, like, everyone's going off. She's like, guns over, like, stabs one just down on the counter.
Starts knifing him.
Yeah,
and then fucking flings one in the microwave.
The other one comes out, bang, he explodes, which is fucking awesome. I love the fact that also the one that's been stabbed, you can still see his legs and arms.
He's still kicking,
back. He's still like alive. And you can just hear them like around the house as she's bashing, and then she goes over to the mantelpiece.
And that's such a good scene.
Well, she thinks one of the gremlins is in one of the stockings, turns out to be like a robot, and then suddenly hears the noise behind and it comes down on her. And just
she goes back to the Christmas tree, doesn't she?
Yeah.
You can see it because all the lights are on. And then you see the gremlin's little eyes. And he's like, I'll fucking get you.
Yeah. And just like he's scratching her up and she's got a knife and she's kind of like slicing, but she ain't getting it. And then Billy comes in like speeding back because obviously he was on the phone to his mum previously and it got cut off by the little bastards. And he literally comes in, grabs that sword that was established by it constantly falling off earlier, and just bashes him into the fire.
Just fucking whomps him. It would be class if she just fucking took his head off.
Yeah, the effects of the gremlin, the way they've done it, like
the animatronics are awesome.
Like all of that, like the bubbling of the skin, like when it explodes, or in the fire, like the screaming, the way it's moving. It's, like the work with that, the effects with those, like the shadow work and stuff like that they use for it, is so awesome. And then obviously this is the beginning. He gets his mum out of there. You know, that's kind of the last until the end we see of Mum, because takes it over to the neighbours. And then Spike in the window gets away. Yeah, runs off, and Billy's after him.
I'm trying to think who did all of the work for it, because I cannot seem to find who did all of that. Special effects, here we go. I mean, this is riveting listening.
Listening. I got to pause for a second. I was like, oh, what are you going to tell me?
Yeah.
And
then Chris Wallace, who I'm trying to have a look and see what else he did. So he did his work on The Fly. And then he ended up directing The Fly 2, which we did watch with Mr. Eric Stoltz.
Oh, yes, we did.
We enjoyed it. Yeah. Had some good effects in that as well.
Yeah. It's I'm just going to go on to the
swiftly
I'm going to move on.
Swiftly move on.
I didn't know what to do with that information. Then I was like, okay, that's
I just threw that out there.
Yeah.
We also did the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Ark of the Covenant scene. If you wanted to know that, and you were
so he's well in with Spielberg.
He's the Spielman, yeah.
And I really like the next with the gremlin jumping in the pool as they get there. You know,
it kind of.
I actually skipped ahead earlier where I said that Gizmo was with him. He's not with him until after he comes back to house because Gizmo's been thrown down the laundry chute, and then he's in there because he then gets attacked when he's under bandages in the swimming pool, and then he finds Stripe just as he jumps in, and you get that awesome
it looks beautiful.
The effect of it all bubbling, the whole pool just going off in the green, and it's all
so
going
sinister and evil.
It does, and then from this point, it's just like it's mayhem across the town, and we start to get all these really cool like establishing shots and things that are happening to people. We get in no particular. I just think to pick out the ones that are like most memorable in my head.
I mean, the old bit where she's like
the old bit. Mrs. Deagles is one of the most deserved and fantastic comeuppance kind of scenes that you get in any horror film. I think where
that's great.
I love the fact she's working around a house and she's hearing a noise. She's like, "Fuck off to the carol singers or the Santa that's coming around the houses." She's like, "I'm not giving any of you charity," and she's already established that early in the film that she's an absolute like. Fuck you. I just love it. She goes on to, she goes up to her chair to get into the thing, and she it starts working a little bit, and then you hear the gremlins in the house. You see them playing with the little. Yeah. I just love it. It's just so quick, but it's so like a little it starts to go up a little bit. Then you hear that kind of cling, kind of like the dad's inventions that went off,
fucked.
And she just fucking flies, and she's screaming, and she's going all the way around like. What looks like 2 levels. It's quite a big house. Yeah. So she's like going like 2 levels. She's like screaming ahead of her. I just love that the ending is her just flying. The police pull up and was like, "What's going on?" Like they start seeing it, and then they just hear this. What the fuck's that? And they just see someone fly out the window.
Some old woman launch through the window and get splattered on the ground.
And obviously Billy's already actually tried to tell, because after the swimming he tried to tell the policeman. He was like, so violent. And as with any classic ones, they're like, yes,
of course they are.
Of course they do. But then they literally see it. They see Santa literally like... I think this was up to the point when I let my daughter watch it, because she just started to understand the whole Santa thing. And then suddenly I'm like, let's not have Santa. What are they doing to Santa? As like the gremlins are literally like basically like pulling him down to the ground, or I don't know, scratching him, whatever they're doing to him.
Taking him.
Literally just... But I just love the chaos of suddenly like you've got the carrots start to run off screaming.
Yeah.
You start to see them move around. And just the whole, you can just start to see the whole street as it goes around. It's starting to get chaos, and I just love it. Started going there. The police officers are like, "We need to go."
You've got
what is it? What is it? One of the policemen people always point out, because it's Jonathan Banks is one of the policemen who people know from Breaking Bad, but they know him as Bold
Mike. I didn't clock that.
Not Mike, is it? No, not Mike. Different character. I haven't watched Breaking Bad, so I don't know.
I've watched Breaking Bad. However, I know Jonathan Banks as a boxer / boxing trainer. And it's Mike.
Is it Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But
I didn't clock that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so but anyway, it's just he just looks so different without the hair.
Yeah.
He just looks so different. But people are always like surprised when it's like, "Oh, it's this guy," like because he's now known for playing such like sinister, dark kind of like characters. That they're just like, here he is this like really scared police officer who just...
I didn't clock it at all. I mean, it was like 30 years ago.
Yeah. So. But it's also because he does look extremely different in this like role. But I just love it. The police are like, shit, we're going to get out of here. And then they're like, shit, my brakes. Yeah. And just that, you get that big like crashing, like, and you're like, all right, they're dead. Looks like it. And then we get the bar scene, which I just love. The bar scene is so
lads
funny.
Just go mental.
It's got so many things, so many like parody like callbacks to different films.
Yeah.
And, like it's got like you've got, for whatever reason, probably due to fear, Kate is still in the bar serving them drinks. I don't quite know why she didn't just leg it out of there in the first place. But no, she is still serving them as they're like throwing stuff at her and going crazy, swinging on the chandeliers. You got Stripe, playing a poker game.
Yeah, smoking, dart.
You've got the
flasher.
Yeah, you've got I fucking love the flash. You've got the...
Which doesn't make sense because all the others are naked.
Yeah. That's the joke.
That's the joke.
You've got the Casablanca kind of like the old room. You've got the old jazz guy in the corner, like as like someone pops up with a little puppet and then he like shoots it.
Yeah.
You just got all these like what is it? A very 80s callback to like I think Flashdance, where they're doing the dance and the moving around in the room and stuff like that. It's just so many of these but it's just the fact that they've taken so much time to give everyone their own little like. There is one that is dressed up in like a cross-dresser kind of way, but they've given so much to give all of these characters a different little personality and things like that.
Like a fun. It's just like a fun scene.
It is. It's just like enjoy. Like this is when the film does pick up purely because it is literally like everything is just like you want to see what they're going to get up to next. You know, they've killed the the family. Is it the Peltzers? No, that's the dad. That's the Futtermans. Yes. Yeah, Murray Futterman, Dick Miller, who you'll also know from Small Soldiers because he's the truck driver in Small Soldiers.
He loves driving trucks, doesn't he?
Yeah. So you've got the scene when when he kills them. Now in the second one, it's established that actually they survive. Oh. But in this film, it's implied that they both get crushed by his snowplow that he was going on about earlier. Like you don't buy American, you buy American. Sorry, this is a Kentucky digger or whatever. Yeah. This ain't doing shit. Whereas yours is foreign trash and stuff like that. That's got gremlin. He's the one that says gremlins. Doesn't he? About like there are gremlins that hide around and all this stuff. You know, the Japanese send them over. Those all like World War II vibes still kicking.
Yeah,
in
like World War II hatred still there.
But I love those like he's so like sat on it when they're like sat in the house. He's like, God damn it, he's like the goddamn foreign TV, goddamn gremlins on the roof, you know. And just that kind of all like his wife going along with it, being so like quaint, like Murray is fine, and then suddenly like the fact of they just getting crushed as the gremlins speed through. But it's weird that it's like it's both like they're dead, but it's also very funny.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, people can die in humorous ways.
Yeah,
so that's fine.
It's got all of that kind of it. So the town goes to shit. The bar, you know, Billy smashes through to save Kate from it, and she's also established the light that she realizes.
Yeah.
She realizes the camera can get her out of her, so she's even when she gets the gun pointed at her by the little dude. So you've got all of that set up, and then the film takes a break while they are kind of avoiding all of the chaos in the house.
Yeah.
To give us the darkest backstory ever.
Which is so weird. You know.
Now, I believe this was so. A lot of things in this film were affected by Spielberg, who asked Chris Columbus to rewrite the script. He said, and so did Joe Dante, we want something a little bit funner, a little bit more approachable. You know, Spielberg was the one that gave the note about Gizmo there should be something that's a more endearing character that we can enjoy of these creatures.
Yeah.
And therefore, it will make the other ones seem a lot darker, but also fun in a different way. So he established that. That's why Chris Columbus had to go back and do a rewrite, basically changing all the darker stuff I said earlier and changing it into those. One thing that did survive and did get brought in when they tried to add more backstory to all the characters. They were like, it needs a bit more to the characters. You know, Billy needs a bit more. We need, you know, Dad and his inventions. Just a little bit of a quirkiness to add a little bit more fun. Let's flesh out this town a bit more, make it more interesting. That was another thing that was really missing from the original script. And this was in the rewrite version. It wasn't actually in the original version. But in that, he wanted the lead to have a reason to hate Christmas. Yeah. So he wrote this really still dark kind of thing that kind of went from the darker ideas of the original script and still stayed in. But so they had it, but they thought they would cut it. And then when he saw Phoebe Cates' like performance of it, because she was so like into it, so she does go fully like dark into it. Yeah. You know, I do think it's a very good performance from her, like telling the story. It's very dark, but Steven Spielberg was like, you should cut that scene.
Yeah,
he was like, you should cut that
I agree.
He was like, he was like, it just... And Joe Dante was like, no, her performance is so good. I'm not taking that away from her. She's, you know, that. He's like, it gives it this dark levity. And this is one of those divisive parts.
Yeah, I would have cut.
Some people absolutely love it. Some people are like, that just totally throws off the balance of the film. Like, we take this time to tell this story. Like, it slows down the pace of everything else. Because they tell this, then basically go back into action. But it's like, for one scene, it's like, this one street is completely calm while they go into this one house, and then they have time to tell this. Whereas everything else in the city is chaos, but we have time to stop.
We have time to tell.
Now, I actually like the story purely because it's so dark. Yeah, I find it a really interesting, emotional, like reason for her being fit. But I do admit that it does take out of the. I was watching it with Charlotte last night, and she was like, "That just seems so out of place."
Yeah, it feels out of place because, and I would be doing that Kurt Angle stare at her at this moment. I'd be like, "You're fucking nuts." At this point,
do you know what's going on outside?
Yeah, do you know what's going on? But then it is also, it's just like,
fuck.
Yeah, it's just like this really dark trauma, and then they're just like, all right, let's go kill the gremlins.
What's also really weird is to have
adds nothing to.
It's also really weird to have Gizmo reacting in this really like cutesy way, like, oh no, your dad basically
your dad died.
Your dad got his neck broken down a chimney trying to deliver who the fuck delivers presents in that way is another question. Like, I get the idea. Oh, that sounds like really fun. It's fun. Your dad was a stupid man.
Yes, your dad was a fool.
Your dad's died. Your dad would make it into those. They literally have the books of people that die. Yeah, the Darwin or people that die in the stupid. That would be in the book. Because to think that you could just climb down the chimney like that, like
I just assume that is she? So she's not
I wouldn't
there.
Even fit down my chimney. So.
No, but she's not there. So it's not like as if she's sat there and then he's coming down.
Yeah, that's
this
the weird
is
thing.
A
It's
day
like
or two
Christmas
before.
Eve.
He's like,
yeah. The story also doesn't quite work because she says like they go there and it's like Christmas Eve, but the timeline, if you really look at the timeline of the story, it actually seemed like he would have been coming down. Yeah, like I said, when no one would have actually been there at the time, because it said about them coming back and then finding no one there. So it's like. So he did that for no one to
for himself
to lay the presents there by me.
He was suffering with carbon
monoxide. And then you've got the extra
poison.
of like that she basically smells her dad's burning body.
Yeah, and it's just like,
oh my god, it's like this is so dark. In other films, this would be a quite interesting exploration into a dark theme of Christmas. In this film, it feels oddly
and if it went
out
somewhere.
of nowhere. And I don't know, fair play to Billy reacting to it. It's like, I'd be like, what the fuck? What is happening here? This is not the I'm so sorry, but this is so not the time.
This is not the time for your trauma dumping.
Yeah, we definitely need to rein this. It's like, okay, I understand why you don't like Christmas now, and now you're not going to like it anymore because these bastards have destroyed it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this information, Kate.
Yeah, I
don't know.
Yeah, you just be like, okay, I'm gonna.
Do you want to help me kill some gremlins?
Yeah, let's go kill.
Let's go kill some gremlins.
Well, it's just the fact that it doesn't.
Maybe that will put a smile on your face. The mass murder of a new creature.
Of these creatures, this new species. Let's go just eradicate them.
And then we follow it up with a very nice and funny scene in a cinema where they're singing along to Snow White. And you get the ultimately cute of Gizmo then joining in with the hi-ho. And that's the cinema scene's also very fun.
Yeah, it's
fun. Again, it's a very weird tonal shift that we have to go through.
It is. It's so weird.
You know, going from the bar scene to this dark scene back to that scene.
Yeah,
is very odd.
As they blow.
I do really like the cinema scene because it has so many cool. You know, you've got all of them in there. The puppetry is fantastic. Having that many of them.
There's loads, man.
Yeah, it also reminds me of the fact that they knew the puppetry and animatronics was going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they tried to find a way around it. Their way around it was by monkeys. They were going to dress monkeys up as the gremlins, and they tried it out. Apparently, Joe Dante got a trained monkey.
Yeah.
In his office, they dressed it up like a gremlin, and the monkey just fucking destroyed his office. It went fucking mad and destroyed his office, and they went, "I'll pay for the puppets."
Yeah. How are they going to? Why? Are they going to do that? Are they going to just put ears on them?
I mean,
full prosthetics.
There are a lot of Hollywood trained monkeys, I guess.
Yeah.
So they were thinking, we're not on about like a fucking ape. We're on about the little, the little ones like
the little one,
like the lad,
Capuchin,
the lad in Friends, Ross's monkey in Friends.
Yeah. But imagine getting 60 of them in a room.
That's what I mean.
And then putting.
Right, we're going to sit 100 monkeys in the cinema and hope it's going to go well.
And we're going to dress them up.
I mean, it would have added to the mayhem. I guess they are meant to be insane.
They start killing each other.
Yes. Fucking, what is that?
What does that mean? They killed Joe Dante.
That monkey just teared Zach Gilligan's face off.
Just killed him. Keep it in.
It's an interesting part. But
it is.
I like the little play of... I like the whole, them having the snacks, and we get Stripe who sees candy so he can read.
Yeah, he can read.
We've established that. I feel like it would have made more sense if it was like a picture of candy or something.
Definitely,
would have got them instead of it being the word candy. And him going, I know how to read that.
I can read.
I'm going to get. I'm not sure that's established, but I guess Gizmo is established to be reading a comic book earlier, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure he could do that.
But what I really like is when they sneak in the back and they're setting off the gas, and when they realise, and you get that whole the cinema screen goes off, and you get all of the shadows of the gremlins coming up. I just think that's such a cool one. When you've got them coming and they start tearing through and they're chasing after them and they block them, even though I'm not certain he blocks it well enough to actually stop them, because he gets like one wooden board and just slightly places it against the door.
Oh, yeah,
it doesn't look enough to hold a whole horde of creatures inside of that. And I also think they're pretty fast, so I think they would have they didn't lock the front.
I don't know.
So it's a bit like that. So you do question these things, but it's fun. It's a holiday classic.
It's a holiday
You're having a bit of fun with it.
The darkness is gone.
They run away. They blow up the cinema. They all get like burnt alive inside. You get some nice shots of them like burning as well.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, thank fuck! We've destroyed the cinema. The town is burning. It's all okay. Your dad died down the chimney."
Yeah, your dad's dead.
I'm still reflecting on that because that was goddamn dark.
It was odd. You should.
I've got some trauma now. Like, this is just Billy reacting. I've got some trauma now.
Yeah, you should never have told me.
I'd rather have not.
I'd rather have not known.
I can't look at you the same way.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
I just killed all those, and I still can't think about your goddamn dad breaking his neck.
Yeah, and rot.
Oh shit, they're strike.
Yeah, it's good.
And this is again, like the finale I said in the original script was basically just chasing them through the town until they burn alive. That's something, but it's a bit bland in comparison. I think this very fun, like from the cinema, them going into the department store. Stripes after Candy, and now he's like, shit, they're dead. Right, I need to repopulate.
Because
it's the second time Stripe tries to repopulate. He's the only one that survived both times.
Because he's shooting him with like the dart gun.
Yeah, he gets the blade from the razor, literally almost slits his head in half.
Yeah, it's a good little, it's a fun little bit, and Spike is a little.
And we get a little Gizmo bit as well, for the whole family friendly, to get him in the toy car driving.
Yeah.
I do love all the scenes where Spike is basically like, Spike starts by going on a skateboard, and then he gets a little tricycle.
It's so fun.
And but it also shows off how skilled like the puppetry and stuff is of this film.
Puppetry's awesome.
That they're like the fact that they can just show like Spike going along on a skateboard, licking a lollipop. They can have all of this stuff going on. It's just like really fantastic work in this film, and really well shot and well shown off by Joe Dante.
Yeah,
I love it when he's beating up like with the baseballs, and Billy's just getting his ass kicked, handed to him by this one little creature.
Get battered.
And obviously we've got Gizmo notices the light kind of thing. So, and finally we get to that. Oh, there's the waterfall. Which, to be fair, Kate is the one that goddamn turned the waterfall. There was no water running anywhere in there until Kate's just started playing with
PTSD trauma.
She just fucking, she's just playing with all those buttons. It's very weird that they're not labelled, because there's so many buttons that she's just like, I've got to turn on
tapping everything.
Turn on the lights, turn on the water. Shit, we've got a problem now.
Yeah.
And then finally Billy finds him, and we've got him there next to the fire, with his little. He's still got a little pistol.
Yeah, he's got his shoot. I love that. I love when he's got that little shooter.
He's attacking. He's by the waterfall, but he doesn't just jump in. He's like, I'm going to tease you this time. It's like, I might dip my little toe in and create a couple.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to drop my whole body in and make millions of them. Obviously, Gizmo saves the day. You've got them all come in. Barney's now in the store as well. He's like, what the fuck's going on? When Gizmo flies, I love the reaction. Gizmo's car flies past, the dog fucking leaps halfway in the air. He's like,
he just goes, hell.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
A rag.
And I just love, and I enjoy it in its fun little thing with Gizmo
like riding
friend. Up, throwing himself off the ramp and opening that curtain. So then we get the full effect of the light hitting the gremlin.
Yeah.
Gizmo's okay. He's thrown off to the side. He's hurt, but he's thrown off to the side. And then we get that awesome melting scene. And I love the effect on this melting.
Yeah.
Again,
it is amazing.
Talking of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ark, we've got a very similar where all the skin is drooping off of him.
It's so good, man.
And he's melting into there. And he's gone, and you're thinking, oh, it's happy. And then I just love the extra touch of the whole skeleton jumping out. But not just the skeleton jumping out. It's not just the effect of the skeleton jumping out to be like shit. It's the fact that then the skeleton breaks
It
down,
kind of like dissolves, like,
and starts to bubble,
flattens,
and the dog's literally like, I don't know if to eat this or not.
Oh, yeah, it looks delicious.
Should I lick this up?
Yeah,
this delicious thing of like, ooh, bubbling. Like, I don't know. Do I kill it or do I eat it or what do I do with it? I'm gonna leave it this time, lads.
I'll just leave it.
And you've got I just think all of that just is just the effects. The special effects and stuff raise this film up.
Oh yeah, the special effects. The Gremlins are the main thing, because they look so good and there's so many of them, and they're very tongue in cheek. It does kind of add it.
Yeah, but I think for the most part, I think this film like establishes the characters really well. It gives a little bit of an emotional heart to it. The actual ending, where he has to send Gizmo back, and you've got that nice kind of like sentimentally kind of very Spielbergian, kind of sentimental, but you've got the sad like him going off. I also love the actual final shot of the film only because it throws me back to like the old ways. Yeah, where they had because you've got the whole painted setting background. Yeah, where he's walking off down a road, but it's all thing. And I know it might seem very out of date to people, but I just like look at it
because it's classic, isn't it?
It's like how much effort's been put to paint that whole background to make it look like a cityscape. It's the old way they used to do it. No background, no CGI like that. Cool, I know he it might look slightly odd, but I kind of like. I like the sentimentality of the ending. Yeah, it works. Like it works with the film. The film's got a heart to it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes up, and like the next day comes, and then the old Chinese man turns up and is like, "You need to give Gizmo back." Basically, he fucks up.
You fucked up. You released an entire horde. You destroyed this whole town. No one believes it. They think everyone's been on the riot. So you're all probably going to get arrested soon.
Yeah, you're cooked. Yeah. But then here's my fingers. So then, he takes it. Gizmo says goodbye. And he's like, oh, maybe one day you'll be right for Gizmo.
Bye, Billy.
And then the dad starts narrating. And he's like, well, that's the story I had for you. Yeah. And then, so if you're ever, flying a plane or you're ever doing whatever.
Yeah, I like that final line, the whole like the Gremlins.
I do, however, the dad's not there. The dad doesn't see any of this.
The dad wasn't in between.
The dad isn't in any of this. The dad's there at the start, then he's at a convention, and then he's there at the end. Yeah. So it's just, I don't think he's
just retelling what he's been told, then we have to take it. But then I guess it opens him up to the unreliable narrator.
It does, but then because he's telling the story,
he made up that dark backstory.
None of this film might have happened.
Yeah,
it might just be the dad.
It does give you the unreliable narrator that actually things may have been more, disturbed. If it like the old Dirk, Futterman kind of character saying about the thing is like. Is all of this that or that? You could read into it that way. I don't think that's the case of what they're planning.
I think it was just a bit of an oversight.
I think it's a bit of a it's just like he started the story, so he needs to end the story. Yeah, almost a little adding framing device at the start and the end, just to give it something of that.
Just a little certain.
But I don't know. It leaves you on that nice. I think it those little touches are what make some of these films feel classic. I think there is a certain sentimentality of like say 80s and 90s films that make them feel like more like you've got like that family friendliness, you've got that heart at the center of it. You've taken your time to like establish a little bit more characters. Yeah. And you've still got these kind of cool special effects, practical effects that somewhat make them timeless. Yeah. That a lot of, modern CGI could fuck up quite badly. When you look back and your eyes keep changing, and even films that look good still start to look a little bit like, oh, actually, I thought that looked alright, but that's really weird to say another Christmas film. There's not a classic Christmas film. I watched the film Fred Claus the other day with Vince Vaughn, where he's in this, and I was like, Jesus Christ, these elves are fucking terrifying. I remember them looking alright, but the CGI heads on elves, I was like, fuck me, these are terrifying creatures.
Well, that's a 2007.
It's not that I don't enjoy the film to some level, it's also got hearts to it. Yes. But it's also extremely terrifying when you look back at some of these like weird creations of like, this is an elf, but we're going to CGI normal human heads onto these bodies of these creatures, and there's like, fucking hell, they're terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I mean, I've never seen it.
Never seen it. You need to explore your Christmas films more. I have seen many of them. I'd probably sad see most of the Hollywood ones. I am big into the Christmas lore. But
yeah, I haven't seen it.
It has a big cast, Mr. Kevin Spacey, of course.
Yes, as you can read there, Kevin Spacey.
There you go. Who wouldn't want to watch a film with Paul Giamatti as Santa and Vince Vaughn as his brother, who you've never heard about, but he is the forgotten brother who, he's the naughty child.
He's the naughty brother.
Because, you should love both children equally, not just because one's goddamn Santa.
Yeah, not just because one's good boy and one's a naughty boy.
Anyway, go check out Fred Claus. That's not the meaning of this episode.
Best film ever.
But yeah, so that's pretty much our that's Gremlins. Now we didn't actually establish this at the start. This is must-see horror.
It is.
This is must-see horror. We did not say it at the start of the episode, so if you have listened to all of this and you didn't know that, if anyone who actually likes to watch our must-see episodes may start this episode and go like, I thought this was. I'm not watching anything if it's not must-see horror. If you're that person, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But this is must-see horror. I don't even. I know what my thing is. I think everyone should. I just think out of creature features, not just Christmas ones, but I think that there are certain creature features in front. This is one that works. Yeah. And there's a lot of ones that don't.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's fair to say probably it is.
I think it is mostly purely because I think it's one of those ones where if someone says I've never seen Gremlins, it's one of those that causes a reaction like, never seen Gremlins? It just seems like you should have seen and it seems so approachable from a slightly younger age that you can get people almost as their early horror, they have seen it. It's got horror, it's not graphical, gory,
it's kind of
but it's enough
fun.
that it's kind of creepy for some, it would be creepier for kids, and if not, it's fun for adults. It's got that all-rounder status. I do think it would, and I do believe it is on most top 100 horrors of all time kind of list.
Yeah,
it's got a classic to it, and although yes, you notice it more, the practicality of it makes it so that it doesn't really age, in the same way that other films do.
It does feel very timeless.
I just think it's just an enjoyable film. Like you said, it's not so much that I think you said about not being so into it, but that's not because it's not a film.
No, it's just because I've seen it so much, and it's that thing of well, sometimes if you know something inside and out, it's hard to get excited to be I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah. I mean, we say that, and then most people around the world watch the same Christmas films every single year again and again. Exactly. But not everybody's into that. So that's what I mean. It depends on the person. I'm a rewatcher, so I'm quite into it. But again, I did have to have the break for a while because you can't overwatch and then be like, I've seen this so many times.
Yeah, and I think that's where I very much am with it. Yeah. But I do think it's. Yeah, I think it deserves to be in the club, must-see horror, because it is,
it's extremely enjoyable.
It's extremely enjoyable. It does have that kind of timeless feel to it. It's a good introduction as well if you wanted a young kid, because it's not exactly, like you said, it's not bloody, but it's got some creepy shots in it that they could see as being a bit scary.
And we were also surprised that we hadn't already done it, to be honest, because it just seems like such a classic
film that you cover at Christmas.
Yeah. How we've gone through for 4 different Christmas and be like, we didn't do Gremlins. I don't know what we covered anymore at Christmas. Because I was very surprised we never hit this. And last week we did Black Christmas. If you didn't listen, check it out. But again, that was another one that's kind of how did we go so long without doing either of those films?
Yeah, very odd.
I think we had planned it several times. We just never did it.
I think so. But yeah, come and let us know what you think of Gremlins. Whether you think it's a must-see horror or whether you think it just falls short. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at CNTH Podcast. Remember, it's the season for giving, so give us a like and give us a lovely review, and we will see you next week. Take care, goodbye, be careful of the gremlins out there. Bye bye.